Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen around the world, wherever you are. Welcome to League of Tilt. But today we're actually doing something a little different. We decided to try and create a guide to playing Mordekaiser in the jungle. So we're going to go over a few basics. We're going to go over itemization choices. We're going to go over jungle clear, jungle routes. So we're in the practice tool, so I can show all of this effectively. So before we get started, remember, your itemization choices on Mordekaiser are extremely important. Because if you build the same items every game, odds are you're not maximizing your chances of winning. Mordekaiser has many different viable mythics. Rocket Belt is fine on him. Riftmaker is great. Frostfire Gauntlet is also viable. So depending on what your team needs you to do, you have to be changing your decisions. If you think you need to be a frontliner that's stacking health, go for Frostfire. If you think you need to just get on top of squishies and murder them, go for the magic penetration that you're going to go get from a Rocket Belt. Rocket Belt not only gives you magic penetration on its own, it also gives all your other items bonus magic penetration. So you just absolutely one-shot squishies. So for mobile or fast or squishy champions, definitely go Rocket Belt. Now let's start. The rune setup we have right now is ideal for starting solo on Mordekaiser. You want to make sure that you're using your passive Darkness Rise as effectively as possible to move around. Not only does it give you damage, it also gives you move speed. So you want to use your move speed to kite camps. You get it whenever you have 3 stacks here, as seen by this red. You get stacks by hitting things with attacks or abilities. So if you hit a Q on 3 targets, that will fully stack up your passive immediately and you'll get the aura. Your aura is a big source of damage and mobility in team fights. Make sure you're always auto-attacking somebody, otherwise if your aura falls off, your damage and your survivability will be significantly hampered. So notice what I've done here. I smited the red and I started Q. The rune setup we have is the best for clearing because we have a double AP and then we have attack speed in the precision page. Mordekaiser almost always wants to go Conqueror. Like, there's really never a situation when you don't want Conqueror. The healing that you get from Conqueror, the bonus AD, all of this is just absolutely fantastic. So we pulled the chickens to us, and then once we were done pulling the chickens to us, we then went ahead. So see here, the wolves are going to die off just now. And then once the wolves die off, so again, you have to be very careful about that. You don't want to let that buff reset. And that's absolutely terrible for you if it does. So you smite the camp that you're not hitting, because then you can let your passive take care of the damage on this guy, and then you can alternate auto attacks when they're both similarly low. And this way, you're basically guaranteed to get a 315 clear if you don't cancel a couple of auto attacks like I did. I canceled a couple of auto attacks with the wolves and I delayed my obliterate by a little bit, and that's what led me to not getting a 315 clear. But otherwise, as you can see, you can get a 315 clear. And you'll be done with Scuttle Crab by 330. So if you optimize your movement through the jungle, and of course that was leashless, by the way, that was almost 315, it was leashless. If you do it perfectly, you can do a 315 clear. So at this stage in the game, right, you want to recall. If you don't have anything better to do, you get your Blasting Wand. The reason you get your Blasting Wand, it builds into Rocket Belt, builds into Riftmaker, builds into Demonic Embrace. One of these three will be your first item, always. Because if you're going Frostfire, you never want to start Frostfire, you want to start Demonic, right? You start Demonic Embrace. Why? You start Demonic Embrace so that you actually have damage. With Frostfire, the idea is you're a drain tank, you're a juggernaut, you run at them, you slow them down, and then they take damage just for being around you. So you want to maximize that by letting your items do most of the work for you. Demonic Embrace burns somebody for 8% of their max HP. That's the dot. And then you reapply it every second with your passive and with your Q and so on and so forth. So Demonic Embrace, fantastic item. If you're not sure what build you're going to go in a particular game, you can always just start with Demonic Embrace. Nashor's is very nice on Mordekaiser. It feels very good to have this item because you auto attack so quickly and your passive does give you bonus damage on your auto attacks. So Nashor's will let you 1v1 almost anybody. It's less of a team fighting item and more of a 1v1 item because it has no survivability, and AP attack speed itemization is stupidly limited. This is the only item in the game that gives attack speed and AP. So only go for this if you know that you'll be just going into bonk wars and you're hitting people. Same with Lich Bane. Very good item on Mordekaiser in terms of the passive, the move speed, the ability, his EP. It's all great. None of this is bad, but it's just so limited when it comes to survivability. You really can't afford to have an item that just gives you more damage and no survivability. Let's understand why. So Mordekaiser, you want to run at people, smash, pull them towards you, and we have Ghost instead of Flash so that you can run at people and you can run them down. Ghost resets on takedown, so you kill somebody in your ulti, right? If you're ghosted, you're almost always going to be able to catch up to them, especially with this move speed, and you have boots, right? Pardon me. Especially if you have a slowing item like Rylai's or Frostfire, then even more so, right? Even more so, they won't be able to get away from you. So you chase them down with your Ghost, you kill them, and then you're in the middle of their entire team. You have to survive that. Look at your AP ratio. 60% AP ratio on your Q, 60% AP ratio on your E. Only a 40% AP ratio on your auto attacks, 30% AP ratio in the ring around you. So your AP ratios are fine, but they're not insane. You're not relying on the fact that your AP ratios are, you're not relying on, for most of your damage, on the fact that your AP ratios are insane. You're relying on the consistently hitting people. So if we level up all the way up to level 18, now look at the cooldown on this. By itself, 4 seconds. Now, let's increase a whole bunch of gold so that we can buy our items. So let's say a full build. If you're into a bunch of bruisers and slash tanks, and you know that you'll just be standing in the front line hitting them, then don't go for Chilling Smite, go for Skirmishing Smite, because it's so much better for 1v1s. You take reduced damage, you deal bonus damage, etc., etc. So it'll look something like this. If they have CC, you'll want to go, instead of these runes, you'll want to go Tenacity here, and you'll want to change one of your Adaptive Forces into Attack Speed. Adaptive Force gives you slightly more damage for your first clear instead of Attack Speed. I've run the numbers. It comes out to about 2 damage to 3 damage more per second, which isn't a lot, and it doesn't significantly affect your clear time. Attack Speed scales better. However, for earlier skirmishes, obviously the bonus AP is also a little bit better. But really, the decision isn't about attack speed versus adaptive force in your smaller runes. The decision is, can you go for Legend Alacrity, or do you have to go for Legend Tenacity? If they have a Morgana, if they have a Lux, if they have champions that just like locking you down, definitely go for Tenacity in your runes, because you'll almost always want to go either for Steel Caps or Lucidity. Ideally, you're going for Lucidity. You don't even want to go for Steel Caps. But let's say they have a lot of champions on their team that can go for auto attacks on you. So let's say their team is like Jax, Trundle or Xin Zhao, Assassin in the mid lane, and then ADC. So it's like 3 to 4 people who want to auto attack you. In that case, Steel Caps have so much value because of the damage that they block from your auto attacks. So in that case, go Steel Caps. Otherwise, you're going Tenacity in your runes and Lucidity here. You can go for double Tenacity in very rare circumstances. Like if their comp is Lux in the mid lane, Morgana in the bot lane, and then something with CC in the jungle, that can be decreased by Tenacity, because of course if knockups cannot be reduced by Tenacity, neither can suppressions. So if suppressions or knockups are the kind of damage they have, displacements like sets are as a displacement, if they have that in the top lane, Tenacity won't help. But if they have like Morg, Lux, and then somebody who stuns from the jungle, or charms like Evelynn, then you might want both Mark Treads here and Tenacity in your runes. But generally, you're hoping to go for attack speed at least somewhere, because it's such a big damage boost to have some amount of attack speed. And as I've shown, attack speed items are garbage. You don't want to build any of that. So Spirit Visage, Zhonya's is a fantastic item on Mordekaiser. You press all your buttons, and then you go ahead and you just go golden, because it triggers your passive, right? So for example, if you go here, auto QE immediately triggers, and now you've used yours, and your Q came back up, and you use your Zhonya's, and your Darkness Rise is coming back up, and now you can QE again. Ideally, you're doing this before you're, after you've used your W, so the Zhonya's stasis that lasts for 2.5 seconds gives you enough time to get your W back. As you can see, your abilities are on stupidly short cooldowns already, and this is just with 60 ability haste. Well, it should be 55. We have 60 from this stupid Hextech Drake that we just slew to make a point. So the last item, there's a whole bunch of choices, right? If you want to decrease their healing, you're going to need to go for a Thornmail. You'll often find yourself going for Thornmail instead of Zhonya's if you just want to stand in the front line and tank them. Zhonya's is an absolutely fantastic item, though your W just gives you basically a second life, and you heal everything up from your Riftmaker and your Conqueror. When you're standing in the middle of them, right, Conqueror is still proccing. Your Riftmaker is still proccing. So you can go ahead and heal a bunch while invulnerable, and then you can take damage again and deal damage again, and then your W is back up by that point. So you just get so much survivability of Zhonya's. So if you ever have to go for 2 armor items, go for Zhonya's. The only reason you'd ever go for 2 armor items is that they have multiple people who deal physical damage, like 2 to 3 sources of physical damage, slash if they have a lot of healing. Now, if they have healing, so you need the Thornmail, but you can't go for But you can't go for 2 armor items because they just don't have enough physical damage to justify that, then you'll skip Zhonya's. But otherwise, if you have to go for 2 armor items, go for Thornmail. If you only have to go for 1 armor item, because they have like only 1 or like at most 2 auto attack dealers or physical damage dealers, there's a lot of magic damage that you have to worry about. If it's just 1 item but not a lot of healing, definitely go for Zhonya's. So that's sort of the reasoning about which armor items to go. If they have lethality and crit, then you might want to switch this out for Randuins. Normally, you're only looking to go Randuins against champions like Tryndamere, Yasuo, Yone, like champions that are almost impossible for you to duel unless you have a Randuins. You need to use your Randuins to slow them, to decrease their AD, to decrease their crit chance, otherwise they'll just kill you. Obviously, you want to try and sidestep their abilities, like if you sidestep Yone knockup or Yasuo knockup, it's very hard for them to accomplish much. But you still really need this, otherwise you absolutely get melted. So normally you don't build Randuins even just for 1 person unless they're super fed. If it's just 1 person, like there's only a Yasuo on the enemy team who has crit, instead go for Anathemas. Insane item, especially in solo queue. It's very cheap, large amount of ability. Sorry. Pardon me, just dying over here. Don't have water near me. My throat's very dry. I've been trying to get a video up for a while, so I've been speaking for a while. So your Vendetta, you get Vendetta stacks, you reach the stacks. What stacks does is it reduces the damage you take from somebody. So whoever you ulti, you reduce the damage from them. It just hurts a single carry so much. This is one of the best anti-carry items in the game, right? You just press this on the person that you want to make sure that they can't kill you, and you just take so much reduced damage from them, and you just ult them, you kill them. So when they have 1 carry who you want to not kill you and who you know you can kill, Anathemas them. If there are multiple threats on the enemy team, don't go for Anathemas, go for something that'll give you more overall survivability. You can also go for, if you don't have to go for Randuins or you don't have to go for an Anathemas, then this last item can be significantly more flexible. One of the items that I absolutely love on Mordekaiser is a Cosmic Drive. The movement speed, allowing you to keep up with people, the bonus AP that you get in team fights, just very, very powerful. The general movement speed, the health also converts into more stats from the demonic. So when do you go Cosmic Drive, generally speaking? So what is the build order? By the way, look, 75 to 70, 60, 70 ability haste is very common. That stage, your ulti, which is one of your most powerful team fighting tools, because you kill somebody, especially in the later stages of the game, they'll be dead for 50 seconds. Your ulti is with this amount of ability haste between a 50 to 60 second cooldown. So that is, you can ult the same person over and over again off cooldowns. They just don't get to play the game. And that's part of the massive power of Mordekaiser. Of course, what you actually do varies from team fight to team fight, right? If you have, if you have, it's not working. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I'm just supposed to press Shift S and pressing Shift O. In a team fight, one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing is you're positioning correctly. You will still get melted if you're in the middle of their entire enemy team. So if you think you have to be in the middle of their entire team, get a Zhonya's. Like, there is no 2 ways around Zhonya's. You'll be very strong in early fights. There's just no doubt about that. Also, your objective damage is very good, especially for Juggernaut. You take like absolutely no damage from objectives. Once you're full build, you just deal so much as well. this is one possible build. So when do you get Cosmic Drive? What's the build order? So let's go ahead and teleport back to base. So imagine this is just your first back. They have one fed auto attacker or assassin on their team, or let's say they have healing. Then you'll want to go Blasting Wand, Bramble Vest, Lucidity. Your first buy is almost always a Blasting Wand, unless you die or something really weird happens and you don't put back with enough gold for a Blasting Wand. You want to buy an Amp Tome. This is the first trio of items if they have healing. If they don't have healing, or you don't think you'll need the healing, then if you have to go for a Frostfire, go for Demonic. If they have very tanky people on their team, or people with a lot of HP, or people who heal a lot and cutting them down by building max HP is important, go for Demonic. Otherwise, go for your Mythic. Rocket Belt, in games where you'll build Rocket Belt, almost always build Rocket Belt first. If you're not going to build Rocket Belt, let's say it's a game where you need to frontline, then you go for Demonic. Now you're deciding, well, is this going to be more about sustained fights, or is this more going to be about frontlining? Let's say it's about frontlining. If it's about frontlining, your second item is a Frostfire Gauntlet. Now, again, remember you already have this Bramble Vest if you need to cut down their healing. So now you go for Cosmic Drive. Now you might think, wait a minute, I'm weak to magic resist. But see, that's the beauty of Frostfire. It gives you some amount of magic resistance, and magic resist magic damage dealers can't really build lethality or magic pen the way assassins can. The only magic pen item they can get is something like a Rocket Belt or boots, and your Frostfire plus base plus the bonus that you get from conditioning is more than enough to negate magic pen. So if you get a Frostfire, you don't actually need to get magic damage. So this core of these two items, this boots and Bramble, is a very good core against healing frontliners willing to tank. So you finish this, you finish your Bramble, and then you can either go for Spirit Visage or Zhonya's or Randuin's, depending on what the game requires. Let's say you're not going for a frontline. Right, let's say instead you don't need healing reduction. Let's say you do need healing reduction. So you have the Bramble Vest by the time you build the Demonic Embrace, and then you can go for a Riftmaker. Riftmaker second item, just like Frostfire second item. Riftmaker reduces the need to go Cosmic Drive because you have AP. If you're going Frostfire second, you don't have a lot of AP, so you don't deal a lot of damage. You absolutely want to make sure you have enough AP to deal damage. So if you're not going an AP item second, absolutely go for Cosmic Drive third. If you're going for Riftmaker second, now you have choices. You can decide whether to finish with Thornmail, whether to get some other armor item like Azania's, whether to get a magic resist item. A World's your oyster, you build from there. You can also get an Anathemas, for example, at this stage if you're getting one of those. You're almost never getting this. It's fine. It's low amount of HP, it's some amount of AP, but it's just Thornmail does so much. Like if you look at what Thornmail gives you, in terms of stats, you're getting health, you're getting armor, they take bonus damage for auto-attacking you, and your E and your R both count as immobilizing CC, because your R is coded as a suppression, so it applies grievous wounds immediately. You just get so much more survivability, and you arguably get similar amounts of damage, because when they auto-attack you, they take damage. Never build Morello. It doesn't even give you ability haste, so it's not like, well, I guess, no, you're literally just trading away armor for AP and less health, and it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Pay the 400 extra gold, get the bonus survivability, and remember, Demonic converts your AP. It converts your health into AP as well. So it's not like you're just building pure damage by you're not building pure tank by building health. That's the beauty of Demonic Embrace. It lets you go wherever you want to go. Very rare is the game where you're not going to be building Demonic Embrace. The only games where I can think of that you're not going to build Demonic, the only games personally where I haven't built Demonic, is when you go Rocket Belt first, and then there are squishies that can't get away from you. If you can slow them, you go for Rylai's. Now you don't need a Demonic, and then you build your boots and your tank items, and you go from here. In almost every other case, you're going to go for Demonic first or second item. The burn from your passive just does so much work. So Frostfire, if you need to chase them down, if you need to frontline. Rocket Belt if you're trying to chase squishies. Riftmaker if you think you're going to be standing in long time extended fights where people are just hitting each other for 5, 6, 10 seconds. Runes, us is already running pretty long as a lecture, so Let's close out, look at secondary tree. There are a couple of viable options. If you go Resolve, Conditioning, and Revitalize. Conditioning, no need to explain anything, right? It's just very good survivability stats. Revitalize, you benefit massively from heal and shield power, because first you get an increased shield from the first cast of your W, then you get increased heal from the second cast of your W. So Spirit Visage and Revitalize are amazing with Mordekaiser. They also help with your jungle clear, because the shielding and healing isn't restricted to champions, it's just shielding and healing in general. So you get so much value from Revitalize. If you go for this, if you're frontlining, if there's going to be skirmishes, if you think there's not going to be really any extended fights, it's more of a rocket belty game, then you can swap this out for Nimbus Cloak and Celerity, or Nimbus, or Celerity and Water Walking. Celerity gives you bonus movement speed from your passive. It just helps you it helps you when you try to stick to your targets with Ghost. You're almost never looking into any other trees. Ravenous Hunter used to be good once upon a time, then you could consider going Ravenous, not anymore. The Omnivamp is just so low. If you think it's going to be a game where you need the Omnivamp, go for the Riftmaker. Remember, Riftmaker, Omnivamp, these only really start coming into play when you're in extended fights. If fights are over very quickly, if you're getting bursted or you're bursting them down, then Rocket Belt or Frostfire, right? Build accordingly. Only build Riftmaker when you know that the game is going to play out as a bunch of people hitting each other and you standing in the middle of them. Then Riftmaker Demonic Zhonya's is probably going to be your best starting bet. As for jungle pathing, like you generally want to start red side for the reasons that we showed. You can do these camps together. You can transition from your wolves into your blue, and then from there into your gromp, and with a leash that makes it so that you can clear by 310, 312. Without a leash, you can almost get it to 315 if you get enough practice on it. It's hard a little because you have to kite perfectly, but if you do learn how to manage monsters' patience, you'll be fine. So that's, I think, a decent enough overview of what this champion can do and the way that you want to build him in the jungle. The reason to build him in the jungle, of course, is as you've seen, your jungle clear is absolutely fantastic and you have amazing skirmishing power. So if you just love this champion, play him in the jungle. He has also one-dimensional playstyle in lane, like you hit E and you bonk them with your Q and you hope that that's stat checky enough. It's like, in the jungle, he has a lot more playmaking potential, especially with Ghost. You use the movement speed, run up behind somebody. So many different possible ways you can play. But really, the big power of Mordekaiser jungle comes from the fact that he's so much quicker at clearing the jungle than everybody else. Than most of the other champions that you'll face. He doesn't have the fastest jungle clearing, but he's definitely one of the fastest, if not the fastest. So you want to use that tempo advantage to make sure you know where to be in lanes. You want to make sure that you're tracking the enemy jungler. If they're going for a gank topside, invade their bot side, kill them. If you're there before they get there, take their camps, put them behind you. Make sure they're falling far behind in EXP and in levels. Keep making them fall behind. Take objective control. Like, the fact that you deal so much damage to camps and objectives, that's your primary strength in the early game. And of course, in skirmishes, if you find a good skirmish, like if you find a good angle to flank and you get a 2-person Death's Grasp, or you even just get a key Death's Grasp on a target that would flash away, fantastic. But if not, you can just use pathing and your faster clear speed to get ahead and then get your teammates ahead. But don't AFK farm. Right? Only farm when you know where you're going to. Farming is something that you do while you're going to somewhere else. It's almost never what you're trying to do in the game. You're trying to get objectives. You're trying to kill people. While setting up those plays or thinking about those plays, you're trying to full sequence and you're trying to farm. So we're not going to go into too much depth into basic jungle sequencing and basic how to jungle in general. Just like the Mordekaiser's playstyle in the jungle is going to be the focus. There are a whole bunch of many different people, many different resources that are talking about how to jungle and understand things like tracking where the enemy jungler is, where to ward, etc., etc. So go ahead and look at some of those resources. Virkayu in particular is probably one of the best YouTube channels, probably the best YouTube channel with the highest amount of educational content in terms of jungle pathing. But Mordekaiser in particular, like, His strength is the playmaking, the 1v1, powerful team fights, the objective takes, and the tempo advantage that he gets from farming. So if you do enjoy playing Mordekaiser, please, please, please give him a whirl. Think about these choices from game to game, the variety, the versatility, of course, the unexpected surprise factor of this fast juggernaut just closing up on you, because people don't expect Mord to be running at you really quickly. They have this idea, okay, he's going to come, he's going to flash, he's going to ult me, or he's like, if he can't get to me, if I can just dance around him, we'll be okay. But Ghost gives you the mobility you need to keep taking people out over and over again. And the fact that it resets and fights means once you kill somebody, you can run away, heal up, let Triumph do its job, and then come back in, or you can just use the Ghost to chase down other people and you can keep getting resets. So very, very powerful stuff. Only don't take Ghost if you know that you're up against a whole bunch of immobile people. Like, even if you know you're up against a whole bunch of immobile people, then don't be like, I'm going to flash on them, because Ghost, you can run them down. It's going to be up a lot more often. If they're immobile, they'll have no way of getting away from Ghost, just like they'll have no way of getting away from Flash. Only take Flash if you know that you cannot chase somebody down and you just need to jump out of somewhere, and you do, like, almost every time that I try to take Flash on Mordekaiser, I just feel like I miss Ghost. But I could imagine, for example, say you're up against a Riven, and even with Ghost, you're probably not going to be able to catch up to them, or like Fizz, even with Ghost, you're not going to be able to catch up to them. It's more important to like dodge critical skills in team fights. Then I could, in theory, see going for Flash there. But generally speaking, Ghost will provide you a lot more utility. So I'll be the end of that. Hopefully that was instructive. Hopefully you learned a couple of things, and hopefully it didn't bore you out of your mind. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Until next time, enjoy Mordekaiser in the jungle.